What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast, a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, and joining me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, doing well. It's Thursday. It's NFL season. Season.
We are kicking things off. In approximately 13 minutes, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Detroit Lions, will be playing the first real NFL game of the season. But for the next hour, maybe hour and a half, we are going to talk to you about the new look Green Bay Packers as they look to kick off their season on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. But first, if you are listening to us in the Bucks feed, the Eurostep feed, thank you for listening to us and giving us a chance. We clearly aren't talking Bucks. We're merely talking Packers. But if you'd like to come over to the Talk of the Tundra podcast feed, press that subscribe button. Maybe press the rate and review button. We'd certainly love it. And thank you for listening and giving us a shot if you haven't already this off season. With that being said, the Chicago Bears. Big offseason for the Bears. They are a whole new team on offense. I shouldn't say whole new, but they made a lot of changes on the offense between beefing up the wide receiver room, beefing up their line, and in general, looking to become a team that wants to compete for the NFC North. But on Sunday, they're gonna have a challenge as they face the youth movement, the kids, all of the young stars at 1265 Lombardi Avenue in the Green Bay Packers. So, Jordan, do you want to talk a little bit, since we didn't get to do a recap of the Bears offseason this offseason? Do we want to talk a little bit about what the Bears brought in this offseason, what they did in the draft, and things like that?
Yes, yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. Bears, to my recollection, had the highest amount of cap space, and boy, did they spent a lot on defense. Got linebackers like Tremaine Edmonds, formerly of the Buffalo Bills, TJ Edwards, another TE initials, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, if memory serves. Um, Yannick Ngakoue, that was a late offseason addition. Uh, Let me refer to my sheet because I'm clearly tripping over my words. DeMarcus Walker, um, Andrew Billings. I believe that those are two defensive line reinforcements. Then they obviously make the big move to get DJ Moore, trading the first overall pick in this year's draft for the former Carolina Panthers wide receiver. Obviously, a big weapon for Justin Fields to play with and develop with, and kind of a savvy move while not pushing all their chips toward the middle. In terms of team building, very interesting, very interesting. But, but, um, this Bears team is very young. Obviously, a quarterback that has started the last year and a half, I
Year and
would
a
say.
half, yeah.
A lot is expected of him to make a big leap. A lot of people have pegged him to make a big leap. Have the Bears done enough to really help Just Fields move along? I don't know. I don't know. Who's to say? Who's to say?
Who is to say? Remains to be
Who's to
seen.
say?
DJ
Remains to be
Moore,
seen.
DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, and Darnell Mooney, the three receivers they have there. I think DJ Moore is going to be a big help for them.
Yes.
I think that'll be for sure something to watch as the season unfolds. But yeah, the Bears are looking to dethrone the Vikings as the rest of the division is from that top NFC North spot and win the division for the first time since I would believe.
I Lovey Smith. No, no, Matt Nagy won it, I
Yeah,
believe. That the Mitch Trubisky year.
yeah, I think that's right. So regardless, if you're going back to the Mitch Trubisky era, probably not a good thing in a discussion about the Chicago Bears.
Khalil
Um,
Mack.
right. Ooh, I remember that was a tough time.
Mm.
So, uh, and then in the draft, they went heavy with line on both sides. They took a offensive tackle, Darnell Wright, Tennessee at 10 overall. They traded back to get him, I believe, because
Yes.
the Panthers had traded up from 9, and that's how the Bears ended up with the ninth pick, and then the
Yeah.
Eagles traded up one more spot to get
Jalen
to
Carter.
get Jalen Carter. So he helps out their line, which was abysmal. Certainly TBD if it still is
And-
abysmal.
yes.
Justin Fields might need to be using his legs as much as he did last year, much to the happiness of fantasy owners. Um, in the second round, they took Gervin Dexter, a defensive lineman from Florida. In the second round as well, they took Tyreek Stevenson, a cornerback from Miami. In the third, they took Zach Pickens, a defensive tackle from South Carolina. And then, before it starts getting into the weeds, in the fourth round, they took Roshan Johnson, Bijan Robinson's backup at Texas. So definitely filling some holes as well, but I think they really did wanted to make a point of filling in that defensive side of the ball because just like the Lions and I guess the Vikings last year, the Bears weren't so good on the defensive side of the ball. Hence why they submitted multiple picks for defensive players as well as spent a whole lot on that side of the ball in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, this is a young team. This is a young nucleus. They had the worst record in the league
Mm-hmm.
by I think a very minuscule amount, but still very worst record. Justin Fields is obviously a beacon of hope for them, but there wasn't like a lot of. It was why they made the move for Chase Claypool and the ensuing reaction of like, oh, they finally get a wideout. And considering I mean, Packers got a long look at the Bears that won that week 2 game last year where they attempted like what 11 throws or something like that.
Something like that.
It was a very archaic offense. And yes, Justin Fields, as we will get into in this preview, is a very gifted runner as a quarterback, but he's a quarterback. So you kind of need that dual threat end of things and making that move for DJ Moore while enhancing their future flexibility. You know what I mean? Like they went all in some regards in terms of finding that kind of X wideout. They're still not. This is not a complete picture by any means. This is more of a. It's not year one because not everybody's on that timeline, but it's certainly um, building towards something of trying to kind of long play it. You know what I mean? We've seen it with other teams numerous times of just like, it's not rags to riches instantly, but I think this Bears team definitely has a ways to go. Though obviously their defense and getting a lot of veteran ready now players um, helps them in that regard towards being more respectable this year, I would say, than just getting walloped every game last year, basically.
Right, exactly. I don't think there's too many possibilities for them to be in the position they were at the end of the year last year this year. Like I don't think they're
It would be shocking.
it'd be shocking for sure to see him spend all that money, go get DJ Moore, a big weapon for Justin Fields, as well as just see like more chemistry with Chase Claypool and Donald Mooney, for them to still be like what I forget what they were last year,
3-14.
3-14. Like that's pretty tough. They started the year 2-1 after 3 games.
Jesus
They
Christ.
beat the Niners. They lost to Green Bay and beat the Texans, and then they went on a 4-game losing or a 3-game losing streak. Their last win of the season was October 24th. They did not win again. So that's a tough 2.5 months to be a Bears player and a Bears fan. I just don't think that happens again this year, frankly. Like they made enough improvements to where they should be somewhat decent.
Second worst point differential too, right behind the Colts.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds about right. So that's the recap of the Bears. No more nice things to be said. Come Sunday, it's ass kicking time.
Yeah, bear down, more like
More like get down.
get down. We're coming.
So let's look over that injury report for both teams as we begin to talk about the matchup this week. For the Packers, David Bakhtiari has not practiced since August 31st. This doesn't really come as a surprise. Matt LaFleur said that Bakhtiari is on track to play on Sunday, and that Bakhtiari said the following via Bill Huber of Packer Central. Quote, I'll be real, every year I play, it takes less and less practice to knock off the rust and then be like, all right, I know a bunch of other guys who used to play would just hit a point where it's like, just give me a couple walkthroughs, make sure I'm fresh and I can go out there and feel good. As long as I can feel my angles out and all of that kind of as a quick refresher, that's kind of how I feel about it at this point, my word. So yeah, not really surprising that a man who had a pretty significant slew of injuries over a couple of years isn't practicing at risk of re-injuring something in a walkthrough where those things tend to happen. You just don't have that sort of similar game speed where you just aren't as focused and I guess technical with your movements, and just some of those little weird injuries can happen. So no need for him to practice. He'll play on Sunday for sure.
Highly recommend reading Matt Schneidman's article on and an interview with David Bakhtiari. They talk about this very thing and how he would see guys like Charles Woodson. I forget the other veteran guy that he mentioned.
Was it Peppers?
Chad Clifton. Chad Clifton.
Okay.
Packers offensive great.
Talk about
Packers
a throwback.
Oh yeah, Cliffy. That's what we call them. Um, I don't like I mentioned that like I know. Anyway, he talks about this very thing of just like how growing it is, and at this point, it is what it is. This is part of Bakhtiari's rehab and recovery. He's not going to go full tilt, and whether it's new age or harkens, it makes the old school football snobs just shaking their boots. It is what it is. I'd rather see David Bakhtiari play on every Sunday rather than him getting hurt in practice like he did nearly 3 years ago, because that is exactly what stemmed from everything like that and changed the trajectory of that Packers season, especially in the championship game, which we will no longer talk about after I'm done with this sentence.
That's right. So yeah, not worried about Bakhtiari not practicing. He's a pro's pro when it comes to these kind of things. So no worry there. The worries, should we say, come on the offensive side of the ball at the receiver position. Wednesday, it had come out that neither Christian Watson nor Romeo Doubs were practicing. I guess during practice on Wednesday, Christian Watson was on a bike most of practice, and I think Doubs wasn't. I think he was in the huddles and stuff, looking on, but I don't think he was actually running routes or doing anything like that. So, needless to say, in the Packers Pals channel in the GSPN Discord. But as always, go ahead, join the GSPN Discord, gspn.info. A little panic, maybe a little more panic from one Talk of the Tundra host. Surely not you, Jordan. Surely not me either. Just to see that starting wide receivers 1 and 2 were both sitting out of practice the week before their first game. Then on Thursday, Romeo Doubs ends up being limited in practice, doing the walkthroughs. Christian Watson still a DNP. Jordan, are you worried about them playing?
Yes, I don't. I'm not optimistic that Christian Watson will play. As I said privately, don't really like the surprise guy with a muscle injury, especially of Christian Watson's frame profile. Like, he's a very speedy guy. He's a quick twitch guy.
Yeah,
That's
his skills in general are about speed and being able to get up to that speed quickly, which is very important. Hamstring, very important in that process.
100%. So we know that it's very different than how it's been with Romeo Doubs, where he missed the last preseason game against the Seahawks. He's been out since, I believe, like late August. It's been like 2 weeks since he's been even on the practice field. The fact that he came back to practice, whether it's walkthrough or even in a limited capacity, does show signs of optimism, even if it's cautious optimism. But I would certainly feel better about seeing Romeo Dobbs on the field, knowing that he has practice. Christian Watson is a very different thing and a little bit more very pessimistic, I would say. Should note Dontavian Wicks returned to practice Wednesday as a limited participant, then was upgraded to a full participant Thursday, which does help the wide receiver depth, even if Dontavian Wicks has missed a lot of camp and is kind of behind, not behind the eight ball, but certainly behind in some regards versus his uh, counterparts.
Right.
So it helps some, but it also isn't exactly the plan that no one would really want going into week one, especially against their rival.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I'm hopeful that Dobbs plays considering he is limited today. Um, I'm nervous about Christian Watson. I don't think he plays either. And frankly, like I'm just worried about this injury nagging throughout the year. Like I all I want in the whole wide world, Jordan, is for the Packers to walk into Soldier Field and just absolutely hand it to the Chicago Bears. That's what I want. And I want that defense tested. And Christian Watson is a huge part of testing that defense with his ability to stretch the field and just be a playmaker in general. So that's going to be a big thing to watch over the weekend if he does end up playing. I would say I'm probably 85 to 90% sure that the Packers will keep him out with his hamstring injury for the sake of not hoping he doesn't re-injure it
Yes.
further in week one when there's 16 more games to play after that.
It is week one. Do not re-aggravate it. Do not make it worse. It is. We all want to see Christian Watson on the field.
Yep.
That is 100% clear. It sucks with injuries like this, especially for someone like Christian Watson. But it is part of the game.
Yep.
And hopefully, week two, as we go into the rest of the season, we don't have to talk about Christian Watson's hamstring all that much because it has been a recurring problem in his limited or his growing time in Green Bay, I should say.
Right. Exactly. Other notable injuries: Anthony Johnson Jr., the rookie safety, was a full participant so far this week in practice, having been on the sideline with a knee injury. And as you mentioned, Dontavian Wicks was a full participant in practice, and Rashawn Gary, coming back from his knee injury, was limited in practice both Wednesday and Thursday. But as mentioned earlier, in training camp, he will be on a pitch count to start the season, so we won't see the full bull rush every snap from Rashawn Gary that we saw kind of like last year right away to start the season. We'll still see him do it, but not the full game, to make sure that he is ramped up to come back rather than just throwing him in pretty quickly in the first game and in full game speed and full game action. So for the Bears entered this week with some big names on their secondary or on their injury report in the secondary. Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson both there, with Brisker hampered with a groin injury and Eddie Jackson with an ankle issue. Jaquan Brisker notably had some stuff to say in the media this week. Quote, "I am waiting. I am itching. It's Packers week, so I know it's going to be live in the stadium. Fans everywhere. It's going to be loud. People hate Green Bay. I hate Green Bay. I can't wait. They didn't get to see me last year. They're going to get to see me this year, though." End quote. I don't know, man. The last time I saw Jaquan Brisker on my timeline was him getting simply cooked by Sammy Watkins. That's all I saw of him.
The only good game Sammy Watkins played as a Green Bay Packer. The only game that I will acknowledge Sammy Watkins played as a Green Bay Packer.
Right. Exactly.
Because he didn't play many of them.
Exactly. So, go off Jaquan Brisker. Love the energy.
Risky business.
Risky business. Risky business to be talking that talk after the season they had last year. And is coming out hot. But I suppose if you're an athlete,
a lot of Bears
you kind
talking.
of have to. But they do be talking.
A lot of Bears talking.
Lots of chatter.
It raises some external, maybe that's how people get charged up.
Oh, it is. It
You know
is.
why I get charged up? when the scoreboard says Packers 31, Bears 14 on a Sunday. I don't know. We'll see.
Packers have won their last 8 against the Bears. Head coach Matt LaFleur 8-0 against the Bears in his tenure. So, got to keep that streak going. If
Including his first game as a head coach, where was that abysmal Thursday night? Do you remember this game? It was against the Bears,
no,
and
I
it was
don't.
god awful.
I don't remember this.
I will bring up the score while you vamp
Yeah.
because I believe it was like 9-6.
Ew. A couple other Bears on their injury report. Their new tackle Nate Davis, who they signed for 3 years, 30 million, has been sidelined for personal reasons and has missed most of training camp. So that's a big loss to their
It was 10-3.
yuck.
Yeah.
Ew.
Are you ready for some football?
Yeah, that's a big loss to their offensive line, who they just need to protect Justin Fields. Like, say what you want about Justin Fields' running ability. If your quarterback is scrambling all the time, it's not really the best offense. To help with that,
Not
though, oh, go ahead.
not great with a new offensive lineman that has not played
Right,
or practiced most of the training camp either.
exactly. So, to help with that, though, the Bears did sign our old friend Mercedes Lewis, who is with the Bears now. Very sadly, we have no choice but to hate him. That's just a joke. Um, their linebacker Dylan Cole has also missed each practice so far, along with I should say along with and defensive tackle Demarcus Walker, who Jordan talked about earlier, was upgraded from a limited participant to a full participant in practice on Thursday. Jordan,
Yes.
more media comments. More media comments. Um, Razul Douglas talking about how he wished Aaron Rodgers hate that I had to say that. Wish he would have played one more year with Green Bay.
No, this is Justin Jones, I believe.
Oh,
This is from
it is. My apologies. My apologies.
Yes.
I got ahead of myself. This is from earlier in the offseason, right?
Yeah, just a refresher for all the. I mean, obviously we're recording some Bucks listeners here, but for all the Bucks listeners, and of course our dear, dear and near tater totters out there. This is from Justin Jones. I don't even remember the reason why he was in the media or making. It was an official press conference.
Yeah, I think it was just like a media day.
Maybe yeah, maybe it was probably for OTAs or something.
No, because it was. I think it was like before. It was recent.
It was
Or
recent. I feel like
I
that was
don't
in
know. You know
July.
what?
It doesn't matter.
Between July and now, it's all a month. It's all a month.
Yeah.
It's all just went by so fast. But here's what he had to say over the summer. Quote, I wish Rodgers would have played one more year in Green Bay, honestly. We went up there and we played a pretty good game. They got away from us at the end, obviously. They won, but their fans are really shitty. So I wanted to go up there and I wanted to play him and I wanted to beat him and I wanted him to be there so he could see it. The fact that he's gone, it's cool. I guess it's better for him not to be there, but I'm ready to take it over. It's a good time to be a Bears fan. We'll see, dog. We shall see. There was a certain furniture sports account who I will not name by name, whose hosts are a four-legged furniture. Jordan, this is simple. Possibly a chair you might sit on an establishment.
Oh,
Yeah. Whose hosts are Bears fans, and they said that they go, I feel like I'm a little panicky going into week one, and the guy goes, yeah, if we lose against the Packers week one, it's the worst loss in Bears history, but if they win, it's Super Bowl or bust. So I want the former. I want worst loss in Packers history as Jordan Love walks in and hopefully beats them. I'm optimistic, folks, but I'm also just really excited for football. Meanwhile, as I didn't get too far ahead of myself, this is Razul Douglas's comments on the Bears Packers rivalry. Quote: I just got here in 2021, so that was when the Packers and Bears were already in a rivalry, but I have never lost to the Bears in all my 7 years with the Eagles, Packers, or Packers Eagles, Panthers, or Packers. So it's not really a rivalry to me. I think more of a rivalry would be back in the day. You've been on the same team for 12 years or something like that, and you've been going back and forth. Maybe that's a rivalry to you, but to me, it's like I don't really care. I don't have one in the NFL, so it's not hard. I mean, some players might feel that. So, trying to stay calm, cool, and collected in Green Bay, it seems. Not to get too high, but it's also not that big of a deal to Razul. So, all that being said, the media comments are done. The injury report is done. Why don't we get into our scouting report of this game? Sort of things to watch for.
Yes.
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 Jordan, why don't you start? You made this wonderful document we're both looking at. Why don't you start with what you think is the thing we should be watching for on Sunday?
I am going to go with the Bears passing offense.
Okay.
DJ Moore, talked about him before, new wideout, expected to elevate this passing offense for the Bears, expected to elevate Justin Fields, expected to elevate everything. There's making a move like the Bears did, trading out of the first pick, creates expectations that they got the wideout of the future or the long term, whatever you want to call it. DJ Moore helps a lot. He's very good. He's obviously played on some Panthers teams that have either middled or obviously have really cycled through a lot of quarterbacks and didn't really find an answer there until that regime burned all down. And now fresh start with the Bears with Justin Fields. As I said before, I think he helps a lot for them. I also think Justin Fields has a lot to figure out. And it's a big question as to whether he can do that with DJ Moore alone.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chase Claypool coming to Chicago, again, was not like a big needle mover, in my opinion. I think it really reflected in that, at least in the first few games they played there.
Yep.
But they obviously got tight end help. They looked to the north, got Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis. Yeah, as much as it is about DJ Moore starting his Bears career off on the right note, it's really about Justin Fields putting things together, doing things that we haven't really seen him do a lot of. If I was looking at his splits correctly, I believe he has 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions against the Packers' lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not great. Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob.
Yeah, let's go through it right now. 4 games against Packers. 61 for 96. So 63.5% of his passes are completed. 722 yards. 3 touchdowns. 6 interceptions. 70.7 quarterback rating. Passer rating, I should say. 9 sacks.
That's
not great.
Not great.
Not great. And as we will get into, this kind of goes hand in hand a little bit later. But as much as it is about the new weapons and everything like that, how the Bears are going to protect Justin Fields is very paramount to this game and obviously to the rest of the season.
Right. No, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is, will we see Joe Barry's defense come out better than they did last year against Minnesota? Last year, notably, Justin Jefferson absolutely just goes off on the Packers defense, just torching Jair Alexander and Rasul Douglas and the rest of the secondary, probably each of them equally, for en route to a couple touchdowns and a whole bunch of yards. So I'm not saying DJ Moore is in Justin Jefferson's air as the receiver, but he's among some of the best receivers in the game, probably top 20-ish, top 15-ish. So it's going to be interesting to see how well Jair lines up with them, assuming that Jair does. I think it's necessary to watch to see if Joel Berry learned his lesson last year, in that you just need to stick Jair on the best receiver, regardless of where they're lining up on either side of the field. You just have to have that all-pro talent on all-pro talent to make sure you're not getting torched by the player who can kill you the most. So we'll see going in, but I fully expect Jair to match up with DJ Moore, and I think that would be one of the bigger things to watch during the game, is how if he's on him like white on rice, flies on poop, all that stuff. So
Especially considering where the Packers secondary is right now.
yeah,
Like that, like I think we have obviously expressed our reservations, whether it's the cornerback depth. Obviously, Eric Stokes is at least missing the first 4 games.
hmm
We'll see beyond that, but it's Jair, Roswell Douglas, Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine. I believe I'm missing another defensive back. No, I already said all 5 of them. And then obviously everything with safeties. Darnell Savage has had it. Brian Gutekunst, I read a Q&A this week. He talked about him having a decent to good camp.
hmm
But there's a lot of uncertainty with Rudy Ford coming in and starting, even though he's had his moments last year. Under a more experienced or like, I guess, more complete quarterback, in my opinion, um, the Packers secondary would certainly be exploited, especially in the
yeah,
back end
yeah,
where it's safeties, all that stuff. Here's just a little bit different, and obviously there is some um, carryover with the staff that did come from Green Bay to Chicago and have seen a lot of these guys. Like I know we've talked about a lot of the turnover that has happened on the Packers side of things. It's mostly been offensive. Like it's not. It's a very different team on that side of the ball. Defensively, it's a little bit different where you know guys' tendencies, you know how they're going to play, even with coaching staff changes and all the talk about wanting to do things differently. I know Kenny Clark talked about like different things that they want to do.
right.
What we expect of Joe Barry is very little. Yeah, I mean, it's he had a quote today. Let me pull this up.
I think you got to find it because I saw it as well when you posted in the chat, and I didn't want to roll my eyes too hard, but I think I failed in my attempt.
Courtesy of Matt Schneeman, I think if you stay the same, you get passed by. The 2023 Green Bay Packers is going to be completely different than the 2022 Green Bay Packers. There's no doubt. Which is like that's a good quote. That is a very good quote.
I disagree.
It's a messenger that is saying that makes me give pause because it's like
I don't believe him.
buddy.
It's lip service. It's
Exactly.
fully lip service. That's why I don't
Yes.
think it's a good quote because I've heard that from so many other coaches for so many years. Like that's not a uncommon thing to say. Like
No.
it's an NFL adage. Like is that you if you stay stale, you just get passed by. It's not something that he's unique in saying. He's just saying he's giving a press conference answer. Is my point. And
No, yeah.
I thought he should have been gone last year, and I'm not too excited to see what he's cooked up for this year. It's probably going to be inedible, if I'm being quite honest. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. I think this is definitely a good first test for them because historically the Packers have done very poorly in covering the run game. They are among the worst in the last
And they have been the worst week 1 team
for a
in the
long
NFL
time. Like
under Gutekunst. And that
yeah,
is talking about like teams that went to the conference championship
yep,
multiple years.
right. And but like the point that I'm alluding to is just that they aren't good. They weren't good against the run in previous years, and they got gashed last year in week 1. And then was that the LaFleur, the first game of the LaFleur era when they got embarrassed by the Saints in
No,
was that McCarthy still?
2021.
So okay,
Because they were displaced by the hurricane,
right,
had to play in Jacksonville,
yes,
got the doors lit off
got
them,
just
blew off them.
got the bricks beat off them. It was like 38 to
Yeah,
3 against
yeah.
a bad
It was
Saints team.
really, really bad. Really bad.
And so I think this is a true test of what they're capable of because they have to go against a running QB who historically they do very poor with.
That would We're
And
getting into my next point.
and they have to overcome the week 1 um, floundering that they've had done in the past. So with that, what is your next point, Jordan, as we segue so smoothly through the scouting report?
Justin Fields on the ground. We hadn't talked about it, but their leading rusher, the Bears' leading rusher, David Montgomery, not there anymore. Khalil Herbert, kind of a running back committee. Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, Rashawn Johnson, as you mentioned, Travis Homer, I believe,
I don't think
former
is
of the Seahawks or something like that.
former Seahawk.
Yeah, very depth piece, kind of not someone that if you're a fantasy guy and you had a lot of running backs hurt, that's the kind of
That's
guy
who
that
you
you would
started.
pick. Yeah,
Me, the guy who started Travis Homer once last year.
exactly. That's funny. Um, I would argue their best running back is their quarterback, Justin Fields.
I think
Um,
right now, yeah,
right now, yes. And that's no slight to Khalil Herbert, who also gashed
the Packers
the
for like 100
Packers
yards
last year.
last year.
Yeah, last year, the Bears had a combined 335 combined yards on the ground against the Packers in both games. 183 of those yards came from David Montgomery. Just Fields' rushing stats in his three career games against the Packers: 29 carries, 208 rushing yards, which is 7.12 yards per attempt, and two touchdowns. Only the Lions have allowed more rushing yards against Justin Fields in his first two NFL seasons.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I think it's really tough because I'm very excited about where the Packers are on the defensive line more than any other position group. And I should say offensive line. I think it's in a really good spot too.
Hmm.
Both parts of the line. But I really like the depth on the edge, especially. I really am bullish on where the newcomers, or not newcomers, but the rookies, and where Devontae Wyatt is going into year two.
Yep.
There's a lot to like about all the resources and investment that they have put in on that side of the ball, or those position groups to be specific. Um, but this is their white whale trying to figure out their run defense. It has been abysmal. It can no longer be tolerated.
No.
It was a problem when they had better a better team, better talent, more proven talent at least. When you're kind of in this new phase, whatever you want to call it, there has to be a committed effort to fix the things that have long been problems. And the run defense, whether it was Joe Barry, whether it was Mike Penn, whether it was Dom Capers, whether it was Ed Donatel, whether it was like we can go throughout my entire lifetime. The Packers have had very rare windows where they were this like you can't get through here kind of defensive unit in terms of you know shutting down running backs.
Right.
And it's different when we're talking about a quarterback, and it's obviously reflects the new age of the NFL. But a guy like Justin Fields who can make plays happen when things break down, guys are covered. He obviously has better receiver help, so it's a little bit different how he might play now.
Hmm.
But it's still going to remain the same. He's going to be a threat. Like you can't, you're going to have a QB spy on him. Quay Walker showed that a lot last year too. Like it affects how you go into this week and go into this game and how you whatever scheme you're dreaming up, Joe Barry, it's going to affect how you do things. And hopefully they learn this offseason that they can really do things differently, and hopefully it turns into better results because it can't get much worse.
No, it really can't. But yeah, it's gonna be something to watch for sure. I think, like you said, Quay Walker is gonna be huge this game as that QB spy, and it's gonna be a problem. Like it's just gonna be a problem until we see that it's not. And I'm not gonna say I'm gonna sit here worried. I just don't like same thing we had with the DJ Moore discussion and the passing game discussion. I'm just not confident in Joe Barry being able to plan something, even though he's had months to do it for week one. Like I think you said it perfectly. They need to address the things that are concerns, and if we come out and see that the things that were concerning were addressed, I don't even see the point in him being there all season. But notably, he is up in the booth now versus on the sideline. So we'll see if that helps him. Like I'd imagine as a defensive coordinator, having that sort of top down view, that eagle's eye, that eagle bird's eye view, I guess.
The Dom Capers
Yeah,
pose.
just that it might help in seeing what's going wrong. Like I guess that's how I would envision having a better way to look at it.
That's a glass
We'll
half
see.
full
It
interpretation.
is. I'm not.
Or glass half empty, where he could be flying around like a bird and just like lay a big shit on the field. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're at. Don't bury it, buddy. Like I don't wish ill upon people, but like now that we're this close, I'm just like, you better not fuck these.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. So, um, shall we move on to the Packers side of the ball? I think we've had enough in general Bears talk about what
Yeah.
we're worried
We're not
about.
scared of them.
We're not scared of them. Protecting Jordan Love. Jordan Love, pocket passer through and through, had a very clean pocket throughout his entire um, preseason series, and just in general, didn't take a sack. That was a big part of our end of camp preseason talk, was that Jordan Love had a clean pocket throughout camp, was never sacked. Um, Keeping that pocket clean for him this Sunday, as he might go in without his top two wide receivers, is going to be very important to make sure as his passes can be as accurate as they need to be to help out those receivers, who are quite inexperienced. If they don't have Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs, Packers have 5 catches for 82 yards to their name on offense, with only those catches coming from Samari Toure. They'd be rolling out Toure, Malik Heath, Dontavion Wicks, Luke Musgrave, and Josiah DeGuara. Josiah DeGuara has some other catches.
I should say, yeah,
Yeah,
DeGuara definitely had more, but
he had more, but
there's a
it's
receiver core.
right for the receiving core. It's just Samari. If you're bringing in tight ends, then Josiah has some as well. But it's going to be a young, inexperienced group, and having that pocket as clean as they can for Jordan Love to sit in there and be poised in that pocket would be very, very important. But as we saw for the entire Rodgers tenure and now this tenure, Packers have a very good offensive line who should be very up to the task of doing that exact thing.
Yes. I think I don't know, it's a tough one where we are have these jitters, nervous excitement,
Yep.
anxious for the season to start. When it comes time to Jordan Love, and we'll talk more about him probably when we get to another section of the pod. Um, I think for me, I I hesitate to put any expectations on him in terms of week one, because I really think even with where the Bears were at last year, they were the worst team in the league. Blah 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 blah. I will give credit to the coaching staff for making things hard on the Packers in the few times that they played last year.
Yeah.
Matt Eberflus comes. He's a defensive minded coach. He was a defensive coordinator for a long time. He can drum up schemes, blitzes, things that could really throw Jordan Love off his rhythm, or just make him ineffective if they get home. Pass rushers, guys like Yannick Ngakoue, he's been around the league for pretty much his entire career.
Yep.
But I felt like that was a good move for them for where they're at. They just need something. They had 20 sacks last year as a team. Terrible.
It's not great.
Terrible.
It's
That
not
is
great.
really bad. That's nearly one a game.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of plays. Um, at the same time, this offensive line, even with David Bakhtiari not practicing, it's not a big deal.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
They're really good. It's going to be the key for Jordan Love to be comfortable to get off, to the kind of good start that we hope to see. Week one just might be a little bit different, and we'll just see how prepared they are for all the looks and blitzes and rushes that the Bears are going to drum up, because they're gonna make things uncomfortable for Jordan Love, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he responds to that.
Oh, absolutely. I think going back briefly to your talk about just sort of the poor play from the Bears defensive line, ranked 31st in pressure rate last year, which goes hand in hand with the lack of sacks that they had. So, but going into the mystery of week one, Jordan Love had to say about this, just about week one, quote, "You just got to know it's going to be unscouted looks. There's going to be some things that are new for them this year that they've been practicing that we've never seen before. So you just have to be ready for whatever. We talk about it in meetings. Just fall back on your rules. Throw what you see. Trust what you see. But it's definitely going to be some looks you haven't seen before. Like I think that is going to be the biggest part of this game for Jordan Love. Is I guess one of the biggest parts. The biggest part being that he can make throws and be smart with the football. But second is being able to read these new looks on the fly, because you can practice and practice and practice against stuff that you've seen on tape from years past. But week one, I think, is the biggest thing. Is maybe that's why they come out flat. Is that the offense can't properly scheme for things that they haven't seen before, and maybe that's part of the reason they have come out flat in years past. But I'd be very encouraged to see if Jordan Love just comes out and has a day. If he comes out and has a day week one, that's very, very optimistic for the rest of his season. But you said you're not putting expectations on Jordan Love because it is week one and because it is a 18-week season and his first season starting. Like I said, I'm not putting expectations on him either. If we could go 1-16 with just the first week being absolutely kicking the Bears' butt in Soldier Field, I'd be disappointed the rest of the season, but I'll be happy, very happy for 1 week.
That's what Bears fans saw last year.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
2 wins in the first 3 games, and they went 3-14.
it's crazy.
That's very sad.
It's crazy. So, we sort of talked about the uncertainty of the wideout position, and just sort of a little bit, just in that segment too. Just if they're trotting out Malik Heath, Samari Toure, and Dontavion Wicks, it just might be a game where you kind of just shrug your shoulders.
You say Jaden Reed too?
Oh yes, Jaden Reed. My apologies. It might just be a game where you shrug your shoulders and kind of take what's given to you. Hopefully it's not that. Hopefully they have at least Romeo Dobbs. Like I'd be really, really happy if they had Dobbs, Reed, and Luke Musgrave just all kind of splash onto the scene. Because like I think they're going to use Luke Musgrave a lot, dude. Like the way they used him in the preseason, I think he's going to be a pretty good staple part of this offense pretty quickly, especially if they're down a couple receivers.
What is your alarm level at right now beyond just possibly not having Watson and maybe not having Dobbs?
My alarm level, like
Yeah.
how
Or I
worried
guess
am I?
confidence level.
Oh,
Yes.
confidence level. If we don't have Watson, or if we don't have Watson and Dobbs,
Let's just go Watson because I think that is more
more
likely
likely.
than Dobbs playing.
Um,
Even if Dobbs is on like a pitch count or something.
I'd give them like a 45% chance to win if I guess not. Hold on. If it's just not Watson playing, like 60%. If both don't play, it drops to like 30-40.
I think if both don't play, I would say like 30.
Yeah. But if Dobbs plays, I think your best case scenario is like 65%. Like that's leaning on Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon to do a whole lot of the offensive work, as well as having one of the rookies really come onto the scene and shine. Unless they just throw it at Dobbs all day long and they beat him that way too. That would have super surprised me, but I would be shocked if that worked, frankly.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I don't know. It's a very interesting scenario that we're in. Because even last year, I mean, Christian Watson played, but they were without Alan Lazard to start the year in that Vikings game.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not talking about it's very similar, just like it's a very inexperienced wide receiver room. We don't really it's hard to we don't have anything to jump off of what we have seen from guys like Jaden Reed. We have a little bit with Samari Toure. We have a little bit with Josiah DeGuara, but like it's a young team, and like I don't know.
Yep.
That's where I get really. I'm a little worried going into it where it's like you just take away the big play threat, especially with Watson.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping it works out that way because I want them to win so badly. But
Mhm.
I think who they have at receiver for Jordan Love's first game is going to be a critical, critical point.
Yeah.
Um, we touched on it already, but the run game probably going to be more significant if they don't have those receivers to throw to. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon will have to be on their game and be special, I think. Um, in 2022, the Packers had 378 total rushing yards against the Bears. In the away game, only saw Aaron Jones go 9 for 26 on the day, but he had an injury late in the season, so it's not too or surprising that way. For what it's worth, AJ Dillon, like we've mentioned all offseason, going into a contract year, him coming out and having a big game right away would be huge for him this season, as well as just huge for this offense to know that they do have that dual threat running back that we had 2-3 years prior.
Yeah. I'm expecting big things from them. They're going to be the linchpin to the offense doing, even if it's an ugly win or ugly loss or just moving the ball like that. That's the biggest thing.
Yep,
And obviously, it's Chicago. It's starting. The season is starting to turn.
that's
Weather
right.
could be really crappy. I don't know.
Ooh,
I don't know if you have
weather
a
watch.
weather watch. Weather watch. It's Soldier Field too, which is notoriously one of the worst kept fields in the NFL.
It can't.
Uh, I would,
I'm glad we're playing on it right now. Only gonna get
yes,
worse from here.
but even last year they had the game against the 49ers that was like a literal mud bath.
Well,
It
that's
was
because it rained.
disgusting.
That's because it rained. Like
I know, but the that happens from time to time.
Sunday, 74 and partly cloudy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it should be okay.
Yeah, it should be okay. Well, unless if a sprinkler system goes off and that field turns into a mud bath, because you never know.
You
Could be
never
a
know.
bunch of mud pies everywhere.
That's right.
Uh,
So we'll see. We'll definitely see. All right, Jordan. It's about that time. Players to watch before we do score predictions. As always, we love score predictions. I will. Do you want to go first, or should I go first for a player to watch?
are we doing one of from each side of the ball? Or are we
We could do
doing
that.
how do you want to do it?
Let's do one from each
And
side of the
obviously,
ball.
regardless of team,
Yes, we can do one from each side of the ball.
I'll go first.
Go for it.
Jordan Love.
You dog
Well,
you.
it's I know, but it's expected.
It has to be.
And I will say this: he has made an NFL start before. Circumstances around it were incredibly pertinent to the time that it was happening.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers had COVID. Jordan Love was thrust into emergency starter duty 4 days out from a game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So you can't make a tougher first start than that.
Right.
But this is a clean new slate. It's his first start of the season of as a starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Um, I am very excited to see him do what we have seen in flashes during the preseason. See what he did against the Eagles in that very brief cameo last year. I read some very good articles from the Ringer. I think it was Stephen
Oh, it was
Ruiz.
such a good article. Go read the
Very good
go read the
article.
article. It's good.
Yeah, we should have a segment this year. I'm proposing this on the podcast. We should have a segment what we're reading.
Okay. We can throw that in
You like
there.
that?
We can throw that
You
in
like
there.
that?
Things we're reading.
Okay. Because we naturally just talk about these things anyway.
Always.
Anyway, my point about Jordan Love. First I will start. It's the Bears. I know I poo-pooed this rivalry. It has not
Ah, Bears. Sorry. That's like the one Bears thing I actually enjoy in life is doing that.
been. It is good. Um, it's it's the rivalry game. It's everything like that. It's really what like a dream kind of start of like what you expect to be if you're a Green Bay Packers quarterback playing against the Chicago Bears. As much as this has been a one-sided rivalry my entire life, it's the Bears, Packers. Doesn't matter. Doesn't nothing more needs to be said because it's only going to be said more on the broadcast. But Jordan Love has the keys to succeed in his first year as a Green Bay Packers starting quarterback. It's not great that he won't have the full complement of his wideouts with him, but I do think the quiet confidence that has certainly been uh, talked about a lot throughout camp and preseason. I think he's just ready to lead.
Hmm.
I think he's ready to play, most importantly. And even with, not being ideal circumstances or not having, the team at full strength, I think we are going to go into this game seeing the future. We're going to see the future. Isn't that what we wanted?
That
That's what we wanted.
that's exactly what we wanted all off season, and
Yeah.
we're finally getting it. This new era is beginning, and I couldn't be more excited just to see how it unfolds. Like regardless of all the circumstances of week one, just the entire season of seeing how he'll perform is very exciting to me, and I think it's going to be quite enjoyable. Frankly, like I think this. I haven't been this like amped for a Packer season in like a while because I think we just
It's been
got
different. It's a
it's a
different.
different feeling. It's a really different feeling.
Mhm.
So I'm excited.
I think I liken it to, ironically, the COVID year, the 2020 year, because that was a really good year. It was against the Vikings,
Yep.
and it started off really well. Like it was a really good game.
Yeah.
But like when you have something change as radically as it has for the Packers, and just a different quarterback, as much as again the importance of that position overrides anything else football related in terms of decisions.
Yep.
Just having a different person, regardless of whether he's good or not, like it does just create this kind of like what could happen? What
Hmm.
is the intrigue? Where is it gonna go?
Right. Did you give your Bears player? I missed it. I like
No,
missed.
I only did Jordan Love.
Okay. Who's your Bears player?
My Bears player?
Yep. Then I'll give
Ooh.
both of mine when you're done.
I hate to be redundant with the same position.
No, I
I
get
think
it.
it I think it's Justin Fields.
That makes sense.
I think I come into this matchup, if there's anything I worry about more, it's about him being able to do damage on the ground.
Oh yeah,
It's
1000%.
without a doubt.
It's
Yeah,
the
because
it's
it's
it's the haunting of Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson all over again. It's the same.
not even that. Like
It's the
for
same
me, it
idea.
goes back to Vic. It
I,
goes back to Vic of that. Yeah,
throw him in there too, but like
I know.
it's been a theme throughout the Packers history. Even like um I think they played RG3 once or twice during that run, and
Yes,
he did it too.
yes,
Like
and
it's
yeah,
so it's it. We'll see. But yeah, I don't poo poo you for picking both positions and being worried about both. Not worried, but
no. And
skeptical about both.
I have seen some film clips, of course, on X of Justin
You mean
Fields.
Twitter?
Yes, um, of his preseason reps, and there were some pretty like like garish looking things of just like timing his throws and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think even without the Bears O line be what it is, where it's I was reading stuff today about like they're moving guys around from natural positions, and they're like, yeah, like we have flexibility on the offensive line. It's like, no, you don't. Like I know what flexibility on the offensive line looks like. It doesn't look like
It doesn't
this,
look like that.
where you're moving the starting center to guard, and Lucas Patrick is going to be the starting center because the original starting center has a hand injury, so they're worried about him snapping the ball.
Tough.
Yes. Yeah, that's a pretty tough one.
That's tough.
So even with those circumstances, Justin Fields can still make plays when things are not working to the ideal or not how they drew them up.
Right. Exactly.
And the Packers' run defense has been abysmal.
That's right. My two. I'm taking the matchup of the game. Jair Alexander and DJ Moore. The Bears haven't really had a big threat in the receiving game in a while. Probably, I might be glossing over some folks, but
Ooh.
I feel like it's Brandon Marshall is like
Oh, without a doubt. I
probably
don't think there's another guy
like
that comes.
yeah, that comes even like close to what sort of production he had. Like I think they wanted it to be Allen Robinson, but it wasn't. And
No.
it just that's just, he's the hope for this team is if he can be a top receiver with Justin Fields, they should have a pretty good path to being decent. And it's up to Jair Alexander to snuff out that fire right away from this Bears team. And after watching what happened towards the end of the year last year, where Jair proved obviously that he could cover all of these All Pro receivers. We knew he could, but just understanding that he's up for it every single game made it even more maddening that they didn't do it earlier in the season. So I want to see them do that week one, put Jair up against DJ Moore, press him in the box, and make sure he can't get out of his breaks cleanly. And I think that's the matchup to watch this game, because if Justin Fields can be limited in his pursuit of becoming the first Bears quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season, it can't happen. It can't happen. Or it can't start with the Packers, basically.
Oh.
So that's how I see it, and I just want Jair to kind of punch down the optimism the Bears have so far already.
Side note, this is not in the name of the segment. Had the Packers named their captains yet?
Not that I know of, and honestly, I'm kind of glad for it because I hope the coaches do it. Hope the coaches do it.
Be very interesting.
I'd imagine they do it after practice tomorrow.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. And again, I'd imagine the coaches do it, knowing how it's been in previous years.
It's one captain per every unit, right? It's one for offense, one for defense, one for no, I'm wrong.
I think that's kind of like half how it works. I think they have like a certain number of captains, because I don't think there's just 4. I think there's a few of them.
Yeah.
In case like the quarterback goes down or something like that. So.
Yeah.
Regardless of all of that, I gotta write down my things. You had Justin Fields, and I had the matchup. Everyone's favorite segment, because they mean so much. Score predictions. We're back, baby. All right. I will go first. With my optimism in mind, paired in tandem with my desire to be somewhat even close, looking at actual reality and how little they scored last year, I say the Packers are going to win 24-17.
Solid answer right there. A tight football game, competitive. You get yours, we'll get ours. Who's the difference maker? I should disclose I'm in Bart Winkler's pick'em pool.
Oh yeah.
I waffled a little bit Wednesday, based on the news of Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs not practicing. I went back to the good side. I will say 24-17 is really good. I will say Packers 27, Bears 17.
20.
So I basically just prices righted you.
27-14, you said?
27-17.
27-17, sorry. We're both picking the Packers. Because we got to. I'm not sure what you're wearing. I'm wearing my Packer shirt. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go, baby. Go Packers.
I'm wearing like
go Packers.
You
got your hat on, though.
I do.
All right, folks. That is it for us. Let us know how you're watching the game in the Discord, GSP.info. We'll be in there live talking the game in the chat. We do that every game, for any game, really. If it's Bucks, Packers, Brewers, Bucks, we're all in there chatting up the game, talking about it. So if you want somewhere to hang out during the game.
Not Badgers.
We'll have to wait.
Get out of here, Luke Fickle.
I'd wait like 6 more weeks until I believe in that team again.
Yeah.
I've been down that road many a time.
Yeah,
but
this happens every
any who's will be. Go join the Discord. Go check out Eurostep in the Bucks feed. I'm trying to see if they had anything recently. I'm not sure if they did. I'm almost certain they did not. Nope, the last one, and there's a Ty Washington episode. So go check that out if you haven't yet. Brewers, unfortunately, lost 2 or 3 to the Pirates after dropping 2 or 3 to the Cubs. So they need to get back on their horse if they're going to end up making the playoffs this season. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Make Time for This, it does have a new episode coming out pretty soon. If you listen to the Cruising for a Bruising, they teased it in that episode. So be sure to go check out Make Time for This as well for everything pop culture, sort of the junk drawer pod of GSPN. If you would be so kind, we would love it if you're a new listener to go check out our page and follow our page on Spotify, on Twitter at Packers GSPN, and the Watch GSPN account on Instagram, where you can find all things Zero Step Podcast Network, including reels, posts, things like that. So go check out the TikTok too. That's also Watch GSPN. Same thing, same things posted there. But if you're a TikTok over Instagram Reels person, you can find that content there. So with all that being said, thank you so much for listening. Go check us out. We'd appreciate it. At Numac and Jordan on Twitter, at Jordan Tresky on Twitter. Join us back for the pod on Sunday. Or it'll probably be, Monday it'll be in your feeds. But regardless, join us back for what we are hopefully celebrating as a Victory Monday. So thank you so much, guys, for listening. Excited for the new season. And Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.